Good morning. Welcome to Puget Sound Foursquare Elementary Class Online. Would you recognize God if you saw him standing right in front of you? Abraham did. Genesis 18 verse 1 tells us that when Abraham was sitting at the door of his tent in the heat of the day, so it was probably late afternoon, suddenly 3 men stood out in front of him. Abraham knew that it was God and 2 angels, and so he ran out to meet them and invited them in to stop and rest a while and have something to eat. When they agreed, then Abraham ran to Sarah and said, "Quick, you need to make 3 little loaves of bread." And then he ran out to his fields and found his best calf and gave it to a servant and said, "Quick, you need to make the best dish you can." And when the food was all ready, Abraham took his best food to God and laid it out in front of them and watched while they ate it. That was the time when God told Abraham that Sarah was going to have baby Isaac, and Sarah laughed. You remember that story. Well, when God and the 2 angels got up to leave, they walked on towards the city of Sodom, and Abraham walked with them for a little ways. Then God said in verse 17, "Then the Lord said, 'Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and all nations on earth will be blessed through him. For I have chosen him so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just, so that the Lord will bring about for Abraham what he has promised him.' Then the Lord said, 'The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great, and their sin is so grievous, that I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will know.' The 2 angels who looked like men kept walking towards Sodom, but Abraham stopped right in front of God.
I'm not really sure why I began the conversation with God. Well, actually I am. My nephew Lot lived in Sodom. So I asked him, "You won't destroy the good people with the bad people, will you? That doesn't sound like you. What if there are 50 righteous people there? Will you destroy them with the entire city?" And God said, "No, he will spare the entire city for 50 righteous people." I got a little bolder. I said, what if there lacks 5 of the 50? Will you destroy the city for the lack of 5? And he said, no, he would spare the city if there were 45 righteous people. Well, what if there are 40 people? He said he wouldn't even destroy the city if there were 40 righteous people. Well, what about 30? Please don't get angry with me, but what if there are only 30 righteous people? Will you destroy the city if there are only 30 righteous people? He said no. He would spare the city if there were 30 righteous people. Well, what about 20? What about only 10? He said he would not destroy the city if there were 10 righteous people. Well, my nephew Lot was there, and his wife and their 2 daughters, and they were betrothed. That should be 6. Surely there must be 4 more there. But there weren't.
Well, when the angels came to Sodom, they found the people were as wicked as God had heard. So God rained down burning sulfur on the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah and destroyed everything there. But because of Abraham, God let Lot and his wife and his 2 daughters leave the city first. You can read more about that story in Genesis chapter 19. Now, Abraham had spent lots of time with God. He had seen God, he had talked to God, he'd walked with God and asked him questions. And that's why he could trust God when God later asked him to sacrifice Isaac, his son Isaac. He knew that God had a plan, and he believed that God would keep his promises, even if that meant by raising Isaac from the dead. That wasn't what God had to do because God had a plan Abraham didn't know about. And you can hear that story today in our other video. So go find that video and your memory verse video, and I will see you later.